Hey, how's it going? Hopefully it's finally working. For some reason the program isn't doing what it normally did. Yeah, I wear these crooked glasses. Giving me the shits actually. I'll leave them off until somebody actually writes a question. So I've just been watching the non sequitur show. Um, as much as they wanted to have a flat earther on, they were saying that they don't want me back on because I've been a guest on the show 1 week ago, and also then the following day, last Monday, which is 6 days ago, because I've been on twice in the week. They want some fresh material, so that's fine by me. Like I don't really give a shit. The non-sequitur show doesn't really mean a thing to me. In fact, this morning, even when I saw the title somewhere, I read it as the non-consequential show, and I thought that sort of seems about right. It is a non-consequential show. It's just a place for mass debaters to hang around and talk amongst themselves. So I thought, well, I'll run my own live stream, and if somebody does actually want to ask me some serious questions, then fine, here I am. I was expecting today that I was going to be debating with a certain person who calls himself by the name Professor Games. G'day, Red Pill Philosophy. It is a circle jerk, mate. Absolutely. But hey, it's a forum, and it gets a lot of viewers, and it's a place for somebody like myself who can go to just express themselves. Where you don't walk into a lit room with a torch, do you? You go into the darkness with a torch so you can spread light. So that's why I go to places like that, because light is needed in the darkness. So you should know that as a philosopher yourself, mate. Anyway, I was getting trolled in the chat by a bunch of people keep asking me questions. I'm like, my fingers are getting too tired of typing all these answers. So that's why I've said, well, I will go live. I'll start my own chat. You're all welcome to come here and then ask me anything. So I can explain perspective. There's no point in me doing it if you're not here to ask the questions. So I had 2 viewers for a moment there. Obviously, one of you has left because you didn't have a relevant question to ask. I'm quite happy to answer any sort of question when it comes to perspective. I think I've got a pretty good beat on it. Most people don't. They don't understand perspective, and they think that you should be able to see infinitely across a flat plane. And that is clearly not the case. Absolutely 100% never going to be the case. If you're 6 foot above water level, you will see about 3 miles. And that infinite point that you're seeing creates an obscurity point. So anything that's above that height will disappear bottom first. It's a very straightforward way of understanding how we see what we see. And if something is really, really high, like the sun, as we said, it's going to be obscured bottom first, while it appears to be going down at a very, very steep angle. Because that's how perspective works. If you got up much, much, much higher, as high as the sun, of course the sun will never set. It will be going in a straight line, because this is what parallel lines do. But you can see it, say, even in the bricks of this building. You can't see too much here. Top. The bricks of this building, well, you can't see it so much because I haven't really got it tilted. But look at that. Now you can sort of see a bit of perspective. Parallel lines creating triangles. A triangle in the ceiling. But it's all parallel. It's all parallel to the floor. Why would the ceiling be appearing to go this? Hang on. That one. in a downwards line. Why would it be doing that? Perspective. Very straightforward stuff. What are the mechanics that explain that, please? The mechanics are your eyes. Your eyes are the center point. Yep. That's just how it is. As you move up and down, you will change the perspective of those, each and every one of those lines, just by tilting the screen up Look how much steeper and steeper this line's getting now. Perspective lines do that. Why do they do that? Well, it's just the nature of how we see the world in reality. It's not because um, spherical trigonometry or any of that sort of bullshit. You know, you can use simple geometry on a flat sheet of paper and you can measure those lines. But as soon as you build a physical triangle and put it out in reality somewhere, just say you, for whatever reason, you decided to build a big triangle, as you walk around it, see how the angles change? See how the angles are different? They're still the same angles. The angles themselves haven't changed, but the way you view it has changed. And this is what very few people take into consideration when they go out and look at reality, to see how perspective causes the change of how everything is viewed. Hello, Libra 61 star. I've seen you around a few times and I always seem to miss you for some reason, so hello. Red Pill Philosophy says, just draw the lines on paper. The angles to floor much different than those to a sun far, far away. That's the thing. The sun is far, far away. Everything that's far, far away is not just lines on a piece of paper. You can draw a line to it, and the line might only look this big. You know, like when you hold your thumb up in front of the moon is a really good example. Does that mean the moon is smaller than your thumb? Of course not. It just means that due to perspective, it appears that size because of the distance. And the distance then that you're trying to measure between you and the moon is not going to be an accurate depiction of the actual distance between you and the moon because of this distance diminution, as they couldn't get right. Godless engineer got diminution. He's not the brightest card in the shed, or the sharpest tool in the deck, mind you. There's a couple more comments coming up here. I'll try and read them. Life is Short did some great diagrams. I haven't seen at Life is Short. I'll have to check that out. But yeah, I've seen plenty of diagrams showing how it works. You know, there's everything beneath you is always rising up to eye level. Everything above you is always sinking down to eye level. But somewhere there's going to be this crossover point because the horizon is this crossover point. It's the obscurity point that obscures everything that is higher than that. So as things much higher up, such as the sun or the moon, as they're receding further and further away, they appear to get lower and lower until eventually they're obscured by it. And of course, they're going to be obscured bottom first. And that's what creates the illusion of its setting, or conversely, rising when it's coming the other way. You seem like a generally good bloke, but I don't understand how flat earthers can deny the overwhelming evidence of the globe. Well, mate, it's pretty easy. There is no evidence of the globe. What we actually set out to do, we set out to find the evidence of the globe. We really set out to prove the globe. It should be simple. There should be that much evidence. It should be all around us. And when you go out and start to look, all of a sudden you realize, hey, there's something going wrong here. All the pictures from space are faked. They're emitted composite images. We've seen the funny thing, what happened to on the way to the moon, where they faked the image of a round Earth because they did it through a circular window. Yeah, you would think it wouldn't be a problem to believe there's evidence for the globe until you actually look into it for yourself. And when was the last time you did that? He's back on again. Loz Barker. When was the last time you actually looked for yourself to find evidence for the globular Earth? The fact that we have an atmosphere in a vacuum, a pressurized atmosphere, everything would be instantly taking the path of least resistance towards the void, not clinging towards a ball if we're in a vacuum. The very concept of it is enough to disprove that we live on a globe. We absolutely cannot be living on a globe within a vacuum of space. It is impossible. The globe is an ancient Flintstones presupposition religion with millennia of evidence ad hoc stuffed into it. That's pretty much it, mate. It's pretty much it. It was something that back in the 1500s, these Jesuits decided finally, finally, we can put the sun at the center of our place of worship, because this is what they've been trying to do for so long. They wanted to put the sun at the center. You know, anything that's at the center is the one being worshipped. And because these are all sun worshippers, they wanted to find some way of being able to say the sun is at the center of it all. And yet it turns out that the only way they can make this work is by creating all these massive, massive hypothetical figures, hypothetical gravity for one thing, hypothetical spinning on the axis, hypothetical orbiting the sun at 66,600 miles per hour as the sun travels through the galaxy at 514,000 miles per hour. This is all just ridiculous nonsense, none of which is scientifically proven. So why would you believe in something that's not scientifically proven, but call it science and say that we're science deniers? You know, this is what gets me. I'm constantly being called a science denier. Oh, stop using your computer, stop using your phone, stop using electricity. You're a science denier. Hello? Where's the detection of the movement of the earth? Where's the science? Where's the science of curvature? None of it exists. So, who's the science denier here? The people with the faith believing what science tells us, or the people who observe reality and say this is real science? What we are doing is real science. What you are doing is religious faith because you want to worship the sun. Libra star just can't seem to get past sea level. And them stars constellations never change, just the holes in your globe. We ain't moving at all. Exactly right, Libra star. It's the constellations are pretty much 100% proof of a flat, stationary Earth. Not to mention water level, lack of detection of motion, and all the other things. But the lack of change in parallax of stars, which are said to be millions of light years apart as the Earth travels trillions of miles annually on its journey through the galaxy. But apparently all the galaxies, all the stars want to move at various different rates of speed just so that they can appear to be constant just to this insignificant tiny little space rock flying through space. Yeah, go and make sense of that. There's no way that that is possible, that the constellations would be constant for thousands of years, if indeed they were millions of light years apart, each individual star and each individual one that we see. What we're seeing is the another fact of perspective, and that is the fact that if they are further apart from one another as we believe, they're not as far as we like to think. We can't measure those distances. We calibrate our measurement devices here at sea level, in our atmosphere. So as these things get further and further away through less and less atmosphere, what would be a radio wave at this length at ground level would be a radio wave at this length at, say, 100 meters up, 1,000 meters up, might be a radio wave this far apart, but we still tend to think it's this far apart because it's calibrated at sea level. So by the time it gets 10,000 meters up, it could be miles apart, and we're still thinking it's this far. And so we're saying, well, it's one measurement of that, so therefore it's must be millions and millions of light years away, as opposed to using your head and thinking they're not that far away at all. We can focus on them. If we're moving this fast and we can focus on that tiny dot of light, it should be a blur at the speeds we're moving, but it's not. It's a crystal clear, apparently spherical looking light. There's nowhere near the amount of distance that they're telling us that there is between us and the celestial objects. What about the northern and southern poles? Okay, that's a good question. That's really simply explained. Have you ever seen a ring magnet like you find inside a speaker? The ring magnet basically explains how the flat Earth works. The northern pole is right in the center. Every distance away from that, towards the outer ring, is the South Pole. The whole ring is the South Pole. There is no specific place that is a South Pole. It's every direction away from north. And so anybody that says they've been to the South Pole, well, that's a ceremonial South Pole. There is no South Pole. That's a joke. And what about the incessant habit of putting the burden of proof on us? Exactly. We're not the ones claiming gravity. We're not the ones claiming the spinning ball in space in a vacuum. We just claim what we see. Do you feel the Earth move? Can you see the Earth move? We do not see or feel the Earth move. Therefore, the one making the claim that we are spinning at multiple millions of miles per hour through space, the burden of proof rests on them. For us, we just might go and sit in a river and stack some rocks up into a nice neat pile and watch them not topple over due to spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Red pill philosophy. I've not incessantly put the burden of proof on anybody. This is the first conversation I've had with a flat earther, and I have questions. That's cool. The pole stars. Yeah, the pole stars are a tricky one. I'll grant you that. The way I see it is all the stars are rotating around Polaris as one body. Now, there does seem to be some evidence. Most of what I've seen has been faked, of there being a southern polar star and the stars rotating the opposite direction around it. Still doesn't make a great lot of sense either way, because well, for one thing, you don't look at the lights in your ceiling to determine the shape of your floor. So even if the stars are doing what they say they're doing what they're doing because that's what they're doing, not because what the floor is shaped like. You might think we're on a spinning ball. So, well, my question in response to that one is quite simply, put a camera onto a spinning ball, align it with a fixed object in the distance, and show us how it can make perfect circles around that fixed point. You might have to put it pretty close to your string, I reckon, where you're hanging your ball from, because that's obviously the North Pole. And then you can stick another camera right at your South Pole and see how that works for you. But most of the time, these things aren't done anywhere near the poles. They're done somewhere in between the pole and the equator. And yet they're able to somehow make perfect circles. They'd be elliptical at best because of the shape of the ball you're on. And at worst, they'll be going in straight lines exactly as you'd expect. Like you say, the sun and the moon rise and set because of the actual rotation of the Earth, yet the stars somehow behave differently from the sun and moon because they're so much further away. It doesn't really comport with reality whatsoever. Now, I put the challenge out to many people to do this. Put your camera on your ball and show us how star trails work. I've never had a response in the last 4 years since I've been asking people. Never once. Nobody's even tried because they know how impossible it is. They know that the camera is just going to spin around with the ball and it's not going to make circular trails. And you cannot put the second camera on it and point it downwards and get both circular polar stars, perfect circular trails around them both, which is what it said is done on the Earth. So yeah, that's fair enough. Red pill. Red pill. When you ask questions about the polls phrase, there's what about? It's you coming from your presuppositional model and demanding we explain it. If you're truly just humbly asking, then okay, yeah. And I think that's pretty much what he was doing. He was just humbly asking. And as I was saying on the non sequitur show, I expected maybe I'd have at least a dozen people come here to my channel now because they kept bombarding me in the chat because I was there answering questions about perspective. And yet here I am now able to answer them straightforward and upfront. And where are they gone? The non sequitur show finished. I actually had it on my phone. It's interesting. When I live streamed it on my phone, it was about 5 seconds ahead of live streaming it on here, so there might be a delay on here. Yeah, FNF, number 26, proof that water sticks to a ball and curves. So I've got more comments on the channel. Hey Ross, and what predictive power does your model have? Let's kick off by you predicting to the second all solar and lunar eclipses for the next 100,000 years. The floor is yours, mate. Well, here you go. What a great question, mate. What a great question. Show me how in the globe model you have predicted them all for the next 100,000 years. You know, do you believe your model really does that? Or do you just find out a week before you're told an eclipse is going to occur and say, I see our model has proven it? You know, the ball's back in your court, Midlander 4. I'm not even going to respond to that. I'll just stay off that bloody thing. Libra star, or Libra 61 star. I can never get a straight answer from a believer in the globe concerning the mathematical formula for Earth's curvature because they know it's wrong and it'll get busted. That is exactly right. Bust them every time. That's something I did say in the comments section, and they tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, that I'm an idiot. Well, if you look at any curvature calculator, 90 miles is the distance between point A and point B, where point B will have dropped an entire mile of height from point A. And yet there's plenty of pictures of, say, islands in Hawaii that are 90 miles apart and one can see the other. The Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building, is 1/2 of a mile tall. The world's tallest building. It's 1/2 of a mile tall. So we're talking 2 of these stacked on top of each other, amount of dropture from one island to the next, and yet they can still see each other. This is what the globe believer cannot contend with. You've got nothing to come back to. Nothing. The earth is clearly flat. So to believe that there's curvature of a mile, 2 Burj Khalifas, and somehow refraction brings it back up to the viewer. Hello? You're missing something upstairs here, and yet you dare come and tell us that we're the morons. We don't know what we're talking about. We can't science. Seriously. I wonder why I drink. It drives me nuts. Libra 61 star says, I'm going to Australia in December. I can't wait to fly upside down. I live in Australia. Can you imagine how hard it is? This is the weird thing. Okay. Somebody says to me the other day because I made a comment, because I saw it on a meme. Oh, therefore, getting your education from a meme is wrong, but if you get it from a textbook full of memes, it's okay. This meme I saw showed pictures of tanks, boats, massive buildings, you name it. If gravity is a strong enough force to hold these massive hundreds and thousands of tons objects upside down to it, that force would be strong enough to crush us. Yet we can still jump. Birds can fly, insects can fly. Gravity isn't that strong, but it can hold thousands of tons worth of ships and all that crap and planes, you name it, upside down on the bottom of the ball, because apparently gravity is just magical. I'm just a hippie from Cornwall in the UK, and even though I lean towards the globe model, I like to think I have an open mind, which is why I like to have mutual discussions with people. Yeah, good on you, mate. That's good. Yeah, keep an open mind. Now, I bumped into a couple of people on Thursday evening when I went up to this lookout. I got some moon footage, which you can see on my channel as well. Took some images of the moon. But before I got started, I had a discussion. I'd had a couple of beers, you might say, and that sort of frees my tongue up to speak a little bit. And so these guys absolutely believed in the globe. And so I just started telling them different things, and they kept asking me questions. You know, well, how do you explain this? How do you explain that? And I'm like, well, you can see it for yourself. Like, why is the horizon all the way from left to right perfectly straight? Are we living on a tube world? Is that why it all curves away? You know, I'm talking like 50 miles would be at least your viewing distance to the north, and maybe only 20 to the south because it's obscured by the mountains or whatever. But you can see a very, very vast distance of perfectly flat, level water. On a globe, it should be curving. There should be some amount of curvature. It should be quite obvious at that point. But no, the whole way is flat. And if you zoom in as far as you can see, you can all see more and more and more flat, level water. It just keeps going forever. Which means that if the curve starts to occur at that point, then the whole world has to be a tube world, not a sphere. It's just impossible. But when you understand that it's just about perspective, that the distance creates this obscurity point because everything in the distance rises to that same level, left to right, because of perspective, the way we see it. That's just how it is. That's how it always is. You, I often explain it just by looking towards the corner in your room. Tilt that up and look at the corner. See how it's creating a triangle or an inverted triangle? It's just perspective. They're all parallel lines. They're all parallel. Well, are we not too close to the Earth to observe a curve? Well, when I'm at that particular lookout, as you can see in my videos, um, no, we can see far enough. As I said, a 90-mile distance has a mile of drop. 3 miles has 6 feet of drop. So 10 miles, what's it's 8 inches per mile squared. So 10 tens are 100. Oh, if I know. I'm not going to do maths today. Don't ask me to. Yeah, you can leave a link if you like. I can't control over what does or doesn't go in, I don't think. But you're most welcome to try. If not, but yeah, the thing is 8 inches per mile. So the first mile you got 8 inches. Second mile it's 2/8. Hang on, no, it's 2 miles. 2 twos are 4. 4/8 are 32, so it's 32 inches. 3 miles is 3 threes are 9. 9/8 are 72. 72 inches. So it's 6 feet. So 10 miles, it's 10 tens are 100 times 8 is 800 inches, whatever that works out to be in feet or miles. So it gets exponentially more and more. So if you're only seeing over a 10-mile vista, then the horizon would be that amount of curvature somehow. But it's never been seen. Of course, it's never been seen. And somehow we just think that all the curvature exists somewhere out of sight, out of mind, where, you know, the Earth just does its magic for you because distance where it can't be seen. That's not science either. That's just religious faith. Um, yeah, there's no curvature, never been seen, never been well, can be calculated, but the formula for it works on the same formula that works for distance on the flat plane, because where the cutoff point occurs when you're standing at sea level 3 miles away, that's where they started to get their calculations for this 8 inches per mile squared. But all you have to do is get higher and see this object that was on the horizon that you thought was being obscured by curvature, not obscured by curvature whatsoever. It's sitting amidst a very, very, very flat and even plane of water with zero curvature. So why would you believe it's curving just because your height advantage made it appear at an obscurity point. When you get further higher up, it's not obscured at all. It's surrounded by flat level water. It's, you know, globers cannot science. And I can click on that and say show. There we go. I don't believe there's an edge at all. This is a good question. Do I believe there's an edge, or does it go on forever? No, I don't believe there's an edge. I've got no reason to believe there's an edge. The only edge we've really found is this Antarctic ice wall, which is an impossible barrier to penetrate for multiple reasons. Our best military of the world, the US military, led by Admiral Byrd, he led an expedition, Operation High Jump, Operation Deep Freeze, 2 operations to try and get beyond this ice wall barrier. And they retreated eventually with their tail between their legs, and they got the rest of the world to join up with them to sign a treaty to say that Antarctica is out of exploration. There's a few select places you can go to for scientific purposes, for scientific reasons. There's a few places you can go and visit and look at some penguins and watch some whales and walruses, and that's about it. You cannot go beyond Antarctica. It's a physical, impossible to penetrate barrier. And even if you did get to the other side, well, then you're still stuck at the other side with very little means to go any further unless you drag a boat over with you, which not many people could do that. It might be possible to do if you had a helium dirigible. Yeah, no worries at all. Hey, I'm happy to share information. The more the better. I'll have a look at that myself lately. The high priest of science himself. It sounds like kneel down on the grass and try some on. So yeah, perhaps a helium dirigible would be a way of crossing Antarctica, but then you don't really know where you're going. You might travel same as you would here in Middle Earth, where you might travel for thousands and thousands of miles across ocean and completely miss any land masses. Pretty much you'd have to go out if you did get past Antarctica and sort of keep going south or southwards, and maybe reach a certain, say, 1,000 miles distance, and then start doing east-west circles again. Maybe you might find some land if you're lucky. That's a tricky thing. Kind of blows soundlies and reds standing on the shore, showing supposed curvature. Oh, okay. I guess you're talking about your link. Yeah, but I could say the same thing just with logic. If you're thinking with logic that the Earth is a ball, then the oceans are obviously curving. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But once it hits land, then the land mass, in order to conform with the ball, must still also be curving. So it's still going sort of downwards in relation to this ocean, even though it's all getting sucked in by gravity, apparently. That would mean that land masses are actually below sea level. Not logical. All land masses are measurably above sea level. So that in itself debunks the globe. Just like that, water level is below land level. But on a globe, everything's below everything else. Does your head in? No. Anybody that still believes in a globe these days, they're clinically insane. Seriously, they're clinically insane, and they hate the fact that sane people waking up to the fact that we can see through their lies, they hate it, and so they ridicule us, and they'll call us every name under the sun. You're a moron. You don't understand science. Go read a book. Go and get some education. All this fucking bullshit. That because they can't grasp the fact that we have grasped reality. I saw one a second ago. Is it still there? Why do you think they decided to tell us it is a globe? That's a good question. Why? Why? Basically, because the sun, you have to go back. It's all mythological. Everything is mythological. I mean, all our planets are named after gods. Mars is the god of war, Venus, the goddess of love. All of these things are gods and goddesses. Lucifer, the light bearer, is the sun. He's the one who's, the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, the Statue of Liberty should be holding a statue of scales, but no, he's holding a light out. So it's a he. It's actually he bearing the light, Lucifer. And the great deception, of course, is that where do they put him of all places? A place called Queens. Hence why we've got this tranny deception going on now. So where men are women and women are men. But anyway, I'm getting a bit off course here. The Lucifer, the light bearer, is their god. And so in their religion, they want to worship Lucifer. That's what they do. And fair enough. I mean, all our sources of energy, all our sources of life come from the light, the son of God. So Lucifer, the son of God, the light bearer, is their greatest God. And they just want there to be only one God. And so if we make everything go around the sun, that makes them feel comfortable. All the 12 constellations, the houses of the zodiac, the faithful disciples of the Son of God, are constantly going around the sun. And therefore, if they can somehow make the earth some insignificant little speck involved in this deception, it makes them feel a lot better about their religious belief and the way that they can trick our minds into thinking we too are insignificant little nothings in an inconsequential universe full of random chaos, that we have no reason for existence. We're just insignificant. Our planet's insignificant. Everything is finite. It's all going to burn out someday. So just shut up and appreciate what you got while you got it. And you're going to die soon anyway. So just shut up and be happy. When you're doing that, you're a good, compliant slave. Now, if we lived on an infinite Earth and we could live forever, well, that changes the whole ball game, doesn't it? If we have the skills and technology and the power and the wisdom to live forever, then everything changes. They don't want us to have that power. They hate us. They hate us having this knowledge. They set out to destroy it all. All our history has been destroyed. All our knowledge has been destroyed. Then they come up with this concept of being on this finite spinning ball in a vacuum of space because, hey, it makes us more compliant. As soon as you start believing one lie, especially a big lie, it's far easier to fall for all the smaller lies as well. So, yeah, it's a control mechanism. It's mind washing, brainwashing, mind control. What they call a television show, a program. Everything is programmed into us. They want us to be thinking like they want us to think. They tell us how to think. They have the mass media. Everything is propaganda. Mark my words on that. Everything is propaganda. Everything that comes from controlled media release is propaganda. I'll read a couple more comments here. If we actually lived on a globe, the gases would be suffocating people in Australia, and people up north would be speaking in high-pitched voices from the no, that's not actually true, Libra 61 star. On the globe model, they thought this out pretty well. Everything comports to, the denser gases would be closer to the surface, the lighter gases outwards, anywhere on the surface. So, but I like where you're coming from with that. Gases and water share the same properties. They find their level at rest. Yeah, well, according to the attraction of gravity, the globe does actually beat you there. You know, trust me, I know everything about the globe. So, um, yeah, I grew up with the globe. I know it all. But when it comes to heliocentrism and all our movements and all our properties of matter, if gravity was a thing, because gravity isn't a thing and the Earth isn't moving, that just doesn't change most properties of matter or physics at all. Most of the properties of physics are still exactly the same, except they're still doing exactly what we've observed the whole time, which is conforming to a stationary planar Earth. Go figure. I observed Saturn and its rings through a telescope. What do you think that was? Well, that's a great question, mate, because I have been talking about that quite a bit recently. I need that to get through this. What do I think of the celestials? All the celestials, they're not as we think of them. I think the celestials are, this is going to make me seem crazy, of course, but, well, I've had worse. I think all the celestials are orbs. Orbs are souls. So when we go without our body, we become an orb of energy. It exists on a different level, different dimension from this one, but it can also be viewed in this dimension. Sometimes when you take pictures, like especially when I was in the Philippines, I got a lot of pictures where orbs appeared for no particular reason. They just appeared. A lot of people will dismiss them and say that they're just specks of dust or something. But every time you look at one closely, you will see they have the same characteristics. There's like a ball of light, there's a dot in the center, and just towards the outer edge, there's another ring of light. The stars have exactly the same appearance when you view them through, say, a Nikon P900 and take pictures of them. They have the exact same appearance. So I believe that all stars are orbs. The wandering stars, of course, named after the gods like Saturn and so forth, Satan, that they too are lesser gods or greater souls in a way. They say when you die, your soul goes to heaven. If you're a good enough soul, sometimes when a really great person dies, a new star appears in the sky, their souls. And so they're surrounded by their families, familiars. The ring of Saturn is Satan's collection of souls. Every time he collects another soul, there's another little speck surrounding him. And that's what creates his ring. And that is why he's also known as the Lord of the Rings, the Great Deceiver. And it creates this illusion of something in the sky that appears to be 3D space. That's my best take on what the rings of Saturn are, since you asked. So, being the Great Deceiver, all deception has come from him. And that is why, somewhere along the line, mankind came to worship Lucifer, the son of God, as God. Hence the Lucifer rebellion, which created great wars in heaven and massive destruction. And pretty much why we're here now, doing what we're doing to try and come to some sort of solution to fix this problem. So, yeah, Saturn and its rings, not terra firma, terra infirma. I could probably do a whole rant on that alone. But, I see Mr. Unite for the Children has made a comment. I seen the creatures again last night. There was pieces of them left over this morning. First time they left proof of their souls. I picked up them leftover pieces of them and burned them good. Interesting, interesting. I wonder what creatures you are talking about, Mr. Unite for the Children. The things I find creatures leave around sometimes like a piece of rat shit or something. Not pleasant. Loz Barker. I was the custodian of a sacred waterfall in Cornwall, and we have lots of pictures of orbs. Some I even took myself. Yeah, cool, cool. So you sort of know where I'm coming from with this. I've got heaps of pictures of orbs. I've even got a bit of a file where I started saving them from the Filipino pictures, but I ended up, there's so many, I didn't really keep a good track of them all. But I've also seen pictures from this guy when he was in Thailand, had some which were like massive orbs, like this big compared to most of my photos, which are only this big. It was incredible to see. And they still exhibited the same features, the same dot in the center and the same ring around it. And sometimes you'll see different features within the lights as well. Sometimes you'll see slight sort of facial features, but generally speaking, I think that's just what our minds make up. Hopefully this one's still got some left. And so I see it as like this with when it comes to orbs, is that if we've got these lesser orbs, these might be just from lesser souls somehow trapped here on Earth. But when it's a great soul, somebody who's done things for humanity, anyway, someone who's done great things for humanity, they will be a shining star in heaven. And what do we call our celebrities? Stars. Because we know deep inside that we are star seeds, and that is our place. We come from the stars. We are just like a speck of starlight, star wisdom. Somehow we have our star sign when we are born, because those are the stars watching over us at our time we take our first breath. And so these are the ones, our guardian angels watching over us, who will dictate how our life is going to be. And then if we are good enough, if we graduate from this earth because we were really worthy, we've given our lives to one another, to serve humanity, to make the world a better place, rather than just take what we can and die. If we sacrifice our lives for the greater good, we earn our seat in heaven. And then we get to do our next job, which is to guide the next generation to become something even greater. Yes, Libra star, yes. Could all be angels or something like that, guardians. Absolutely. It's exactly what they are. I can't mention the number of times where I've had near-death experiences, things that should have killed me. Like one time, even just driving to work, and this car come flying out of a driveway straight towards me as it was waiting for me, just to plow straight into me. And I thought, holy fucking shit. I got no chance of escaping this. There was no room for braking or accelerating and get out of its way. It's just going to hit me. And it's like it just passed straight through me and I just kept driving. It's like, that shouldn't have happened. All the time I fell down a cliff, fell down a massive cliff one day, and as I'm dropping, I just felt like two beings coming beside me as though they're just lifting me and guiding me. Dropped me gently on the ground, and when I hit the ground, I thought, shouldn't I fall over or something at least? I was taught how to fall as a kid. You'd say when you hit the ground, do a bit of a roll, so it takes the bounce out of it. So I just did that anyway, but fell down this massive cliff, fine, not a scratch. We have guardian angels all around us, always looking out for us. Some of the wee blew up and found faces and images that I could not. Oh, right. Some of them you blew up and found faces and images. Yeah, mate, they are lost. Or I wouldn't say lost. I'd say they're departed souls. They could be guardian spirits. They choose to be there for whatever reason. Um, They don't necessarily have to be humans. They might have been humans once. They could be any sort of higher intelligence that hangs around as a etheric sort of experience, and that's just something the Globers always love to say, is that the most natural form to take is a sphere. That's why orbs appear spherical, because it is interesting though that that ring around the edge doesn't sort of appear spherical; it appears flat. I'll have to think about that one. But yeah, maybe because it's more intense at the ring, and that's why the rest of it just appears as a faint glow. Um, yeah, mate, a pint and a proper chat sounds good. At the waterfall, many people come from all around the world to leave offerings for their loved ones. Ah, interesting. Interesting. I think sometimes the loved ones um, do hang around their physical body. So if their physical body then gets cremated, say, for some reason they've still got an attachment to these ashes, and that's why a lot of people like to scatter them to the wind. So it sort of sets them free. But see, I think there's many, many different um, explanations, or many different varieties of experience that can be experienced. And that's why I say, according to your beliefs, so it will be. So for a lot of these people who are very atheistic, and they say that we're just an expression of energy, and when we die, there's nothing. Well, for them, their experience, that's what they'll get. They'll just have nothing. That's what they want. That's what they expect. That's what they'll get. For some people, they have an expectation of an afterlife. You will get whatever you believe. So if you believe in heaven, what's your version of heaven? My version of heaven is coming back to Earth and making it a better place than what it already is. It's already pretty good, but it can be better. And for some reason or another, I've hung around. I could go into a lot of self-pity shit and tell you that I found peace of mind at 8 years of age when I learned how to tie a noose. Because I knew at any time I can just skip out of this world. For some reason or another, I've hung around. And I know I'm here for a reason. And I have some great ideas of how to make this world a better place. There's a lot of opposition, of course, because this world belongs to somebody who has been banished to this place and he's made it his realm as we've permitted because we've consented. But as soon as we stop giving consent, we can take this world back. And we no longer have to live as debt slaves. We can be free men on the land once again. I'm an agnostic pagan, a tarot reader. I've seen many strange things. Yeah, I got into the tarot for a while myself. There's a lot to be said for all sorts of things. Um, I consider myself more of a Gnostic rather than agnostic. Pagan, I got no problem with that because as a flat earther, I truly believe it comes down to the nuts and bolts. Mother Earth, the Earth itself, is the true God. Yeah, I will go so far as to say that. I will say that. That's why the sun It's the Son of God. It's the Son of the Mother Earth. And that's why the stars, we're the star seeds. When we grow up, we get to work in our Father's fields, the fields of heaven. You know, the kingdom of God is like the mustard seed. It keeps on growing and growing. It scatters more seeds and growing and growing. It's infinite. The infinite flat planar earth is the field where the seeds are planted. You have the Mother Earth, the Father Son, as a combination of the elements, earth, air, fire, and water. We are the fifth element, life. We are the children of God. And if we do our duty properly, as star seeds, we become stars in heaven. Otherwise, we get recycled, get put back through the compost. And maybe eventually we get reborn again. Maybe have another chance. Maybe start off as a worm again this time. Build your way up through the cycles of life until eventually you get to be a human again. And you have an opportunity. You shine, or do you mock and ridicule and put down these people who are thinking outside the square, who are coming up with ideas, coming up with a way to make this world a better place? Are you standing in the way, or are you putting down bricks and pavers in front of them and saying, yes, we can build this world back? Thanks, Libra 61 star. You got a crash? That's no problem. My friend, really like the way you approach this, very much the way I do. Thanks. And by the way, you did very well on non-sec. You could represent me every any day if I wasn't able. Cheers, Libra 61 star. I appreciate hearing that. There's not many people who really get me on my wavelength. Yeah, most of our preconceived notions from other people who don't get me simply because they got these preconceived notions and they'll just think automatically that somebody is a nutter because they don't think like they do. And they say, go to school. It's like, hello? What? Go to school to get the same indoctrination you got? No, thank you. No. A thinking person thinks for themselves and researches for themselves. I mean, ask Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla, what school did you go to? And he would say, probably, the same public schooling everybody else went to. So therefore, to be able to think originally for himself, he's a nutter. He's crazy because he's not thinking like all these other people doing mundane factory jobs or whatever. A great mind does not follow the path that everybody else has taken before. I'm not saying I'm a great mind by any means. I know I'm not a lame mind by any means. I know I'm not a moron, as everybody likes to call me all the time. But I know the original thought is the pioneering path through our current dilemma. I mean, I don't see this world being an absolute paradise that it should be by now. We have all this great technology. We've got all this great technology. So why the fuck is everybody miserable? Why the fuck is everybody in great debt? Debt to whom? Debt to the earth? No. Debt to greedy, miserable bastards controlling the world. They're the ones who are setting the standards for our lifestyles today. And it's not how it should be. I don't like it. So I will fix it. But I can't fix it by myself while everybody's fucking ridiculing me the whole time. I've got multiple, multiple solutions to make this world the greatest world we've ever seen, the greatest empire ever, where everybody can live as a free man on the land. No more death, no more slavery. I have the solutions, but I can't do it by myself. So, Loz Barker. I love to meet people and discover their outlook on the world. It would be boring if we were all the same. It would. And that's it. We're all here, unique, individual human beings, to create our own expression on this blank palette of life. You know, not to be pushed down into a little cubicle and said, this is your lot in life. Do what you're told. Be a good slave. Breed. Grow old. Die. That's not life. That's not life at all. Libra 61 star. Right on, bro. Keep up the good work. No big deal. People think I'm crazy too. Little do they know. Exactly. And I think that's the whole point. The whole point is the world is made up of the beautiful, crazy people. This is how change occurs. Not by conforming to a party line, not by waiting for a savior to come along and fix it all. We are the saviors. We have to be the Christ consciousness, each and every one of us, and spread that all around, everywhere we go, everything we do, make this world a viable, living place. I wish somebody would ask me another question. Because I really wanted to answer some bloody perspective questions from these idiots on the non-sec show, the non-sequitur show just tonight or today. It's only let's see, what is it? 3 p.m. 3:01 p.m. Sunday afternoon here. And yeah, I can't believe these people constantly, tagging me, flat Earth Aussie Jesus, tagging in all these questions. I said, all right, I'll put on a live show. I'll go live on my own channel. Come and ask me whatever you want there. Because I got so sick of answering all these bloody damn questions. Where are they? Where have they all gone? I think they're big heroes in their own should I say lounge room or basement or whatever. But when it comes down to reality, when it comes down to facing me one on one, I mean, I even told the non sequitur show, I'll gladly go live right here, right now, and discuss these things with this guy. No, you've been on twice already this week, 7 days and 6 days ago. So therefore, we went fresh blood. It's because I really think they don't like the fact that I have an answer for everything, anything. Ask me anything, and I will at least come up with my best response. I may not always be right. I don't expect to be, but you think there's an element or a compound that is H2O? Okay, that's a good question. I like that question actually because that's one I've never really been asked and I've been thinking about a lot. I don't think that water is H2O at all. I know that sounds pretty weird, but how do we know that it's 1 part hydrogen, 2 parts oxygen? I mean, the air is hydrogen and oxygen as well. If you put oxygen into the air, it doesn't make water. I kind of think that water is, if anything, when you think about, say, compressed gas in a gas bottle and you can hear the liquid sloshing around, the way I sort of think of that is that water is more or less compressed air. I know it's a little bit strange sounding, um, but it's more or less on that sort of path of thinking because water naturally evaporates into the air without necessarily boiling. Um, so the evaporative process just is sort of like a pressure differentiation. Um, the H2O equation part of it, I think there's more to it than that. I think the H2O is just a side effect that we are able to detect. That's something that we can examine for some reason or another by doing tests on it. But water is something more than that. And if I was to really specifically say what it is, I talked just briefly before about the elements, earth, air, fire, and water. These are more than just elements, they are angels. And specifically, water is the angel of love. I can't put it into any greater expression than that. Water is the angel of love. And therefore, it contains a vibration that we can alter with our consciousness. We can speak a word into water, which will alter its vibration. These things cannot be detected by science because science doesn't have the means to detect such things. It's above and beyond mundane, dark ages science. Science can measure stuff, it can weigh stuff, it can do other stuff, but it cannot measure subtle frequencies such as love or hatred. These things cannot be measured. These are things that exist in the subtle realms. And water, for some reason or another, exists. The Big Bang Theory, which science gives us, water isn't possible to exist because water is finite. You cannot create water, as I said. You can't take hydrogen and add 2 parts of oxygen to it and create water. It doesn't work that way. It's more than H2O. These are just some of the gases that we can detect coming off it as we boil it, for example, detect. But water is love manifest. Without it, no life could exist. It is the feminine aspect as opposed to fire, the masculine aspect. Mother Earth, Father Sun. That's all I can say about H2O. Something disappeared here. I know I thought they should have let you speak. Yeah, mate. They should have, but hey, it's their show. I can't complain, I've had my chance to speak twice. I know what is an element. I think H2O. I think it's H2O and an element. You can't break it down. It's always going to be a gas, liquid, or a solid. I saw something else. Great answer on water. It also holds the memory of everything it touches. It does. Yeah, it's the consciousness. If we dehydrated our brains, we'd have no consciousness, would we? We'd be dead. So, yeah, water is the living essence of life. Huh. I thought I saw something there. Maybe it got deleted. Maybe I just imagined it. Yes, I do believe that water Oh, there's a really cool movie. Walter Mitty, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Maybe that's what it's called. Great movie. Recommend you watch it. Um, the Tides. Thank you, Libra 61 star. I have my theory of what causes the tides, and the formation of the moon. Okay, well, to me, the formation of the moon, it came from Earth. I mean, a lot of the Earth theories say that it came from Earth. Um, so the asteroid hit it. It sent it flying off into space, and because gravity just wanted to cling onto it. Gravity makes no sense whatsoever because, I mean, come on, you've got Earth spinning around the sun, spinning around on its axis, and the moon just clinging to us. It makes no sense whatsoever. The way I see it, on the flat stationary planar Earth, the moon was put up there by some beings who deviously made this giant bauble in a way to say, to mock us, because we used to live in giant trees way up amongst the stars where the sun never set. But now we're stuck down here on this ground after they cut down all the giant trees and burnt them all, and we lived in darkness for centuries. Um, they created this moon, somehow filled with some sort of helium, perhaps, or hydrogen, whatever it is, that suspends it above us. And it's suspended by some sort of electromagnetic force. So this electromagnetic force works because most of the southern perimeter outside the equator is ocean. It's salt water, and it creates this repulsive force. And because the moon then is repulsed from this water, it's also got an equal and opposite effect, and so it's pushing the water down and away from it in front of it. So the high tide always precedes the moon. The high tide doesn't follow the moon, it precedes it. So the tides are caused by pushing the water around. That's my explanation for the tides. And I can't debunk it. And I think that the sun is doing the similar thing, hence why we've got the 2 tides per day. But why they're exactly 6 hours, 15 minutes apart, high tide to low tide to high tide, and so on, all the time, still doesn't quite fit because the moon phases aren't exactly the same as the sun phases. So, but the tides vary all the time, which I suggest is because the moon and the sun aren't always in sync with one another. When they're in perfect sync with one another, when you got a full moon and you got the sun directly opposite, that is when you get your king tides because they're equally pushing down all around, and they've got the maximum effect of pushing the water around. That's where we get our king tides from. If you can understand the king tides, usually in line with the equinox, which we just had one now. The equinox is when the sun is at the midpoint. So therefore it's more equal with the moon. That is when you're going to get your biggest king tides. But as far as thinking the moon is pulling the water around on the globular Earth, absolutely does not work whatsoever. So anybody who thinks the globular Earth model and the moon pulling tides around, pulling water without pulling the container it's in, makes no sense. It's like getting a rake and going to your pond and raking water out. You're pulling the water out with a rake. No, but gravity isn't even a rake. It doesn't even have prongs. So no, the globe model with the moon absolutely does not work. So yeah, thank you for that question, Libra 61 star. That's my opinion of what causes the tides. It's a electromagnetic repulsion pushing down and driving the water forwards, salt water. And it's only a weak force, really. It's not that strong because the tides only change by a meter, up to 2 meters, generally speaking. 1.8, 1.6. That's as much as the tides actually change. It's not a hugely powerful force. And sometimes, coupled with a lot of rain, a lot of you know, wind, and then therefore the full moon and the equinox. Sometimes, tidal places, coastal places, like especially around here, the tides will come up so high it will flood the streets. But it's very rare that all these things happen at once. But they generally do happen at once because the weather is affected by the sun and the moon. It's what makes the weather. See, I've always believed it is the sun that causes the tides, much like the sun causes the atmospheric weather, creates tides in the ocean. Can't be the moon, as it would drag the clouds. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think it's the sun and the moon. They work together to create the tides. I don't know if they drag the clouds as such, because the clouds are sort of like, in a sense, fog. They're not like solid liquid, I was going to say, but yeah, they're not like solid liquid like the oceans, the salty oceans. They're just more like, foggy liquid, gaseous liquid. But yeah, clouds are quite interesting. Clouds sort of could only occur on a flat Earth as well. They couldn't occur if we were in a vacuum of space. I mean, nothing could occur if we were in a vacuum of space, to be honest. You couldn't have sound, you couldn't have an atmosphere, you couldn't have clouds, you couldn't have anything. It's all just gone. Gone. Bye-bye. See you later. That's what would happen if we were in a vacuum of space. But then I saw Loz Barker asked, do you think there is a dome? I think there could be a dome. Let me put it that way. I don't necessarily know if there's a dome, and I can't see any real proof that there's a dome, and I don't really see that there's any need for a dome. I see, if we're on a stationary planar Earth, I see everything finds its place according to the laws of density and buoyancy, everything. Displacement theory is actually what I call it now. We don't necessarily need to have a dome for it to work, but it kind of makes some sort of sense if it's pressurized and we are in a vacuum. Of course, we'd have to have a dome, but yeah, I'm not convinced on a dome. The Operation High Jump and Operation Deep Freeze have me sort of interested in the fact that maybe there's some sort of impenetrable barrier that we can't get above. But apart from that, I've got no reason to say yes or no, one way or the other, to whether we have a dome. Some years back, I speculated the best way that we could avoid all this chemtrail bullshit that we're getting sprayed with would be to build very large glass domes. And what we could do within them then is grow a whole shitload of food aquaponically. And that would give us all the oxygen we needed. And then, because I also believe we lived on a globe back at that stage, I also thought that, well, they're talking about polar shift, and a polar shift would cause everything to be so disrupted that nothing bigger than, say, the size of a small dog would survive. I thought, well, what if then we built the dome underground as well, and we had the landmass floating within it? This bauble then would be able to withstand any major cataclysm. It would get rocked around a heck of a lot, spun around through commercial oceans and whatever, but basically because of water being level, the landmass would stay more or less flat or just rock around a little bit, create some tides maybe. But apart from that, you could sort of outride any major storm. And then it made me think, holy shitballs. What if we're already in something like that? That really made me think. Perhaps the world is inside a giant ball. The land masses is floating. It's a possibility. I don't know. You know, it just makes you think. Um, Warm water clashing with cold water. Yeah, there's all those different things creating the weather and oceanic tides, trade winds, you name it. Um, One of my favorites, nobody's asked me this one yet, I'm just going to go into it, is the Coriolis effect. The Coriolis effect is simply the fact that the sun goes around and around and around us, and it follows the path of the equator. And as it goes further up, it appears to go further north. As it comes down, it appears to go further south. But it's still following the equatorial path the whole time, going around and around and around. And as it goes around, because it's a source of energy, a huge source of energy, it's superheating the atmosphere and the ground and everything beneath it. And pretty much like when you see a boat going through water and you see in the wake, you see the vortices spiral off in opposite directions in opposite ways. You know, that's just how natural vortices are created by movement. So the sun is doing the same thing to the air, and therefore, occasionally, one of these little vortices might hit the right conditions. It hits the right humidity, the right temperature, the right air pressure, and it forms into a massive storm cell. And it will flow this way on that side of the sun, of the equatorial path, and on the other side, it will go the other opposite way. It's the natural path things will take. And if they start to try and cross over, next time the sun comes around again, it will just push them back out to the side they belong. That's why storm cells go opposite directions either side of the sun's path, which is the equator. Um, so, yeah, there's like your weather explained and Coriolis all in one. Water flowing down a drain will just go whichever direction the water was first started in. You can change it. If you've got a sink with the plug hole in the middle, you can start turning the water this way a little bit, pull out the plug, the water will keep going that direction. Fill it up again and start the water going the other way and pull out the plug, it'll keep going that direction. It's just the natural flow of things keep going the most natural path that they've already been directed in. It's called vortex energy. And vortex energy, by the way, is the answer to all our free energy issues that we're looking for. I think the ISS is an absolute hoax, the way that we're showed it, Loz Barker. Um, it's a real thing in a swimming pool, in a studio somewhere. Um, I don't know how they fake all of their stuff that they do, you know, pretending they're in anti-grav and stuff. I don't think it's all done in a free fall plane or anything like that. But you know, there is a lot of movies. I saw something the other day. I haven't watched it fully. They're talking about the movie called Gravity. I think it's called. It's the one of Sandra Bullock. And I said that was made on a budget of $100 million. And people think it's amazing. I haven't seen it, but I'm going to have to watch it one of these days. But $100 million. NASA has a budget of $100 million every 2 days. So if you think that they're not capable of making something equivalent to what Hollywood is capable of making or better, yeah, everything NASA pulls out is a hoax, absolute hoax. I have no time for NASA. I don't want to even talk about NASA. You know, a lot of flat earthers think that's a good thing to talk about. I'm all for it. You know, I'll debunk them, get them defunded or whatever we have to do. But yeah, to me, it's a distraction. NASA is propaganda. And propaganda, I'd rather just ignore it rather than enter into it. Um, so, hang on, let me go back up. Yes, I think the ISS is a hoax. Libra Star, I've got an experiment I'm going to do on the vacuum and supposedly coexisting pressure environment. Can't do it without a solid barrier, though. That's exactly right. You can't do it. There is no vacuum without a solid barrier, without a sealed container, floor, solid floor. Without it, yeah, the whole idea of a vacuum of space is just. Therefore, I do believe that there is a solid barrier. Okay, well, I believe the solid barrier is just the Earth. The Earth is the solid barrier, and everything finds its place according to density and buoyancy. So the more dense the gas is, the lower to the ground it is. That's where most of your oxygen exists. Get too high up, you need to bring your oxygen with you. Coriolis has always just been moonshine to me. Coriolis in a jar. I'll drink to that one. In fact, I'll need to get another drink because it's just about out. Yeah, no, the Coriolis effect is real because cyclones south of or outside the equator spin the way they spin. I'm not sure at the moment. I might need some more moonshine myself. But they spin the opposite direction from the other side of the equator. Just as I said, vortices from the back of a boat will do. It's pretty straightforward, really. That's the only thing Coriolis affects. I got that out in one coherent sentence. So real Bob Ross, the real Bob Ross. G'day, real Bob Ross. G'day. Are you a flat eye, or is it a flaty? I don't think I'm a flaty or a flat eye. Hard to understand that word. I've never seen that word before. Flatie. I would like a debate. A flat earther. I consider myself more to be a planar earther than a flat earther, but yeah, if it comes down to it, yes, I am a flat earther. I do believe that our infinite stationary plane is basically built upon a flat platform, for want of a better word. I don't believe we're in outer space. Um, I don't believe we're in a space disc or a space pizza covered with a dome, surrounded by an ice wall. I believe the only physical plane of existence is the one we live upon. So, yeah, if you'd like a debate, real Bob Ross, I'd be happy to entertain that. Coriolis is real, just not for snipers. Yeah, snipers have to take into account density and buoyancy and wind. So if they aim a little bit above their intended target, if it's like a mile apart, the bullet will actually slightly fall a little bit and hit their target. That's about the only thing that Coriolis ever has to do. What proof is there for that idea? What proof is there for the spinning ball? Real Bob Ross. What proof do you have that we are living on a spinning ball? Yeah, I'll entertain your idea, but you can't disprove my idea that the Earth is fixed, motionless, and surrounded by level water, where all the land masses are higher than the water's surface. we can physically see the oh, come on. I'm going to have a piss break. I'll be back. If you climb the top of a mountain, you can see the cabbage around you. Oh, come on, mate. Get serious, would you? I cannot. I've climbed to the tops of many mountains. I've been in aeroplanes. I've even seen images of helium balloons going to 120,000 feet, showing that it is perfectly flat and level in 360 degrees around you. So don't piss in my pocket and tell me it's raining, mate. Ah, that's better. Thanks, Libra 61 star. I've never gotten why people believe in the flat earth. Come on, Bob Ross, get serious. Yeah, you take your time, bro. Like I've only been going here for like an hour and a half. I've only drank 2 long necks and started on my third. Ugh. I might even bring my chair a little bit closer so I can read. I'll show you that. I'm not sure if I'm going to look at that because it says read this www.triplem.com.au story flat with splashes and shit in it. Well, I'm not going to read it while I'm doing a live show. Or should I? I wonder if that would work. I'm not real good at doing live shows, and I even forget how to do a split screen. I started to try doing that before, and it didn't work. Flat as spend 20,000. I can see that. Trying to prove Earth is flat, accidentally prove it's round. No, that's not true, mate. I will read it later, but that's not the case at all. They spent 20 grand getting a ring laser gyroscope, which has been pre-programmed to show that the movement of the stars are going to prove the Earth is moving. That's all it did. That's all it did. There's no evidence of the Earth itself moving just because the stars themselves are moving. Yeah, 15 degrees all the time. That's all it ever did. It, Libra 61 star, I thought you were going to bed. You must be addicted to to oh, hang on, there's a new person here. Ocker Nightshade D&D. All right, pal, how you doing? Okay, it's interesting because that was written 3:33 p.m. for all the threes. That's Illuminati. Ah. Ah, better than drinking alone, eh? I never drink alone. I'm sure out of out 8 billion people in the world, there's somebody else drinking somewhere. And it's always 5 o'clock somewhere. So here we are at 3:35. DVW. I don't know who you are, but how old are you? Infinite. That's how old I are. There's never been a time I haven't been in this particular incarnation. Coming up this winter solstice, I will have been breathing air in this body for 48 years. So that's how old are I. But I have memories before. Oh, these glasses are so twisted and warped. I really need to step on them again and straighten them out. Real Bob Ross. Go to a dock and watch as the boats move out. They will so disappear bottom to top. Ooh, well, I'll tell you what, real Bob Ross. If the Earth was curved, should not the boats be going over nose first, and then we watch the bottoms rising up as they're going over the curve first? Shouldn't that be the case? But if they're disappearing across a flat level water plane, as we know they do, and we see because of the vast distances creates an obscurity point, obscuring the bottoms first, that we see the taller parts disappearing at a much further distance, makes far more sense than why they would just somehow magically vanish bottom first over a globe. Yeah, makes no sense. If they're going over a globe, it'd be nose first, bottom last, and you'd sort of see them tilting over it. Never happens. Never happens. So no, that one's completely debunked because we understand perspective, which thank goodness that's what this discussion was supposed to have been all about. With perspective, we have this thing called this obscurity point that happens as a range of viewing height where everything beneath your feet appears to rise to eye level. It always happens. That is what creates the horizon. So if something is taller than the stuff beneath your feet, which boats obviously are, they're obviously taller than your feet and eye level, those things will still be visible beyond the obscurity point, and therefore the bottoms will have been obscured while the tops are still visible. That is how perspective works. Thank you for asking. I've been waiting to say that for a long time. Holy shit, is that Bob Ross? Yeah, that guy. Fucking hell, you've got a good accent. I can always read it. I thought you did. Loz back. I brewed my own cider and it's 4:35 p.m. here and I'm having a pint with you. How good on you, Loz? Well, I brew my own beer. It's a health tonic. And look, it's level. Even though it's upside down here in Australia. You'd think I'd have to stand on my head and snorkel it through my nose or something. Real Bob Ross. No, because it's a gradual enough curve that you don't visibly dip down as you move. I might have to read that 3 times. No, because it's a gradual enough curve that you don't visibly dip down as you move. twice, this time it might make sense. No, because it's a gradual enough curve, but you don't visibly dip down as you move. No. Okay, I think I understand what you're trying to say here. No, you don't visibly dip down as you appear to move. As you don't visibly dip down as you move, but to the appearance of the observer watching you move. They're the ones saying that you're disappearing because of curvature. I'm the one telling you it's not because of curvature. It's because of perspective. It's because once you reach a far enough point, far enough away, only the taller part of the ship will be visible as the bottom part is obscured by the obscurity point created by the water. So, no, I've still got to read that again. No, because it's a visual. No, because it's a gradual enough curve that you don't visibly dip down as you move. Yeah, this is what glovers do. They have to obscure everything in obscure thinking. The one doing the moving doesn't think they're moving. They still think they're on a flattened level. It's the one viewing it who is saying, I'm going to move on from that point. That's insane flat, yeah, dingus. Good on you, Hakenite. Soon the Earth is a flat, mate. You fucking dingus. DVW, you should do more debate. That's how I found you. I'm about to turn 51 years old this May. Well, happy birthday this May. As I said, this winter solstice, June 22nd, that's when I'll be 48. It's going to be a very, very specific moment in time. That's when the sun peaks at 1:55 a.m. on the 22nd of June and starts to descend again. Something big is going to happen this year. I can guarantee you that. So, Houston, Texas. I once went to California. That was not too far from Texas. Lived there for a year. I was only 16 years old. Did an exchange student. Just after I turned 17, I returned back to Australia again and had no desire whatsoever to ever go back to the USA ever again. Ever. Never. I've been to New Zealand twice and to the Philippines twice since then, but apart from that, I do not really have much desire to return to the USA. No offense, but Australia is where I will live my life for pretty much the rest of it. The occasional visit maybe back to the Philippines again. I've got to get my fiance back here some way or another. It's only been 7 years this Easter since we've been engaged, and I've only ever seen her once since. So, don't feel sorry for me. I do enough of feeling sorry for me. I don't need you. You're on mobile. Wait a sec. Okay, Mr. Real Bob Ross, take your time. It's all good. Damn it, y'all make me feel old. How old are you? Libra 61. I thought 61 might have been like the year of birth, and I thought you were the old one. Anyway, I don't really care too much for age. I think this is one of our biggest problems. I think we get too caught up with age and expectation of how we should look at a certain age. This is something, probably that book just over there, but I just took my glasses off so I can't see shit. Anyway, there's a book called Linda Goodman's Star Signs. I started to read it as a bit of a joke because I thought, star signs, I'm not into this crap at all. There's no way I'm going to read this shit. But I started reading it for a bit of a joke, and the next thing you know, I got a bit hooked. And then I moved up to Byron Bay. I was still only, I would have been about 18 at the time. And with nothing else to read, have a couple of cones and sit down and start reading this book again. And it captured me. It was actually really interesting. And I started doing the things that she recommended when it came to numerology and blah, blah. And it turns out that astrology is actually science. I know. You're going to say, oh, you're a fucking idiot, moron, blah, blah. Astrology is science. It is the understanding of the celestials above us. I forget where I was going with that. Maybe if I read the comment again. How do you do hangout style, dude? 57, born in 61. Ha. Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's just talking about age. I knew it would come back to me. So one of the things she says is talking about age. And this last discussion that I had on the Non Sequitur show too was about, me being an anti-vaxxer, was to do with telomeres. Well, telomeres is the idea that our cells have a certain lifespan, and that once they've wound down, that's it. They don't replicate themselves anymore, so they can only last a certain amount of time. And so my idea is that we can reprogram them because our minds have the ability of mind over matter, and water, as we're talking about before, being human consciousness, is affected by our emotions. You think emotions, you think water, you think crying, water. You think anything emotional has to do with water, sort of like a feminine aspect. If you can put that vibe through your consciousness into who you are and who you've been, mind over matter, that is how you can reprogram these telomeres, the essence of your living cells, everything, to become immortal. I know, it's a big call, I know. Most people just look at me like, fuck, man, you want some good drugs? And I was like, 95% water. Yeah, I'd love to do that, Loz Barker. Hangout style so we can all talk properly, but I don't even know how to do that. Bob Ross, the real Bob Ross, not just any old Bob Ross, the real Bob Ross says, give me one of your fee justifications. It's justifications, mate. Come on. At least spell justifications, right? Not justifications. Sorry, I'm a spelling nerd. Oh, shit, yeah, I'm anti-vax. You better believe it. Yes, all pharmaceuticals are. So, yeah, Libra 61 star on the same path, bro. Um, my mother was a pharmacist. I grew up in that environment, watching people getting fed pharmaceuticals, watching them grow old and die. And I believe there's a better way. So, yeah, I'm 100% anti-vax. The only way you can get vaccinated, it might be possible to vaccinate against certain things, but it means you're going to get the disease. But you've got to take it orally or up through the sinus. That's the only way to do it. In fact, oh, there it is over there. If I was going to go on to an anti-vax rant, let me just grab it. All right, I'll do that. It's only just right here. Okay. This was once a bottle of colloidal silver. I've had it for that many years. The labels are all worn out. I make my own colloidal silver. If I start to feel sick, back of the throat, up the nose. Oh yeah, in the ears. Feel good. That's the only vaccinations you need. That thing kills off the diseases. The whole idea of putting diseases into your body so that you have to wait for your own immune system to get rid of them. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. This shit kills off everything. Within 6 minutes, any of the things I've breathed in over the last 24, 48 hours is going to be killed off. Gone. No more bacteria, no more infection, no more disease. Simple as that. If our water pipes are made of pure silver, wouldn't even need to do that. You wouldn't even need chlorine in it. Okay, I missed a few comments here. So Libra Star was born in 57. Oh, born in 61. That's cool, man. Hey, as I say, age is a figment of the imagination. You can unwind these telomeres. You can unwind them with your consciousness. You can be young forever. I mean, I'm pushing, what to say, 48 this year. I still feel the same as I felt when I was in my 20s. And I can guarantee you, in another 100 years, I'll still look the same. Because I understand the secret to anti-aging, antioxidants. Talk about that another time. Where were we? No, the telomere things aren't the essence of our life. They determine stuff like hair color, where they get cut short as you age, your hair can turn grey, and other parts of your DNA can fail. I say telomeres, mate, not telomere, but I understand what you're trying to say here. Unfortunately, this is what happens when you talk to people who think they know stuff, don't really know how to say stuff. They're telomeres, mate. And sure, you can view them as that, but once again, mind over matter. You know, you've got your mind and you've got your belief, and then according to your belief, so it will be. The key is to be childlike in your innocence, to say, I will not allow other people's beliefs to affect what I believe. I will believe what I want to believe, and according to my beliefs, so it will be. If I want to live forever and I choose to do so, then I can and will do so. What happens is most people don't. They start thinking, oh, I'm getting old. I'm 60. Oh, I'm 70. Oh, I'm 80. Oh, I must be nearly dead. Oh, shit, it's about time I died. So they do. They allow a good physical body to deteriorate because of their beliefs. So, where's the next one? You got the Nathan Oakley YouTube show. Oh, hang on, I missed a couple here. Also, how do you think vaccines work? Well, I think they don't work. I think what they're doing is they're injecting a weak form of the disease into a person's body, the most unnatural way that a disease gets introduced in the first place, and that therefore then the body will go and create antibodies against this particular disease so that when it does get introduced to them by the normal ways, which is usually breathing it in or eating it somehow, you're going to have automatic immunity against it. That's the whole idea of vaccines. I think that they're absolute bullshit. Then the next one says, "Oi, you're right, Cobber. G'day, you big strong boss. How you doing, bro?" DVW says, "You go on the Nathan Oakley YouTube show." I am not a fan of Nathan Oakley whatsoever. I tried to, a lot of people told me about him and said, check him out. And I tried watching a few of his shows, and honestly, I found him to be the most annoying fucking prick. I know they talk about a lot of divisiveness in the flat earth community. Well, as far as I'm concerned, I've got no time whatsoever for Nathan Oakley. I mean, his heart might be in the right place, but he's there blatantly trying to make money out of this and tells people there can be no swearing on his show, but when he comes on, he swears his head off and carries on like a fucking sport little brat 3-year-old. I can't stand him. And after watching him, I think for the second time, I just went, no, mate, I'm unsubscribing, and I've never looked at him again. No time for Nathan Oakley. You're drinking a VB, get fucked, huh? It's one of these, but it's home brewed, I ain't got time for none of that mainstream bullshit. Also, they put very weak strains of viruses to train out antibodies to fight them. Exactly, that's what you're trying to say. And that's not how it works. You get the real disease in the right channels, and your real antibodies fight it, and then you've got real immunity to the disease. So you don't get it through having that piece of shit virus injected into your bloodstream unnaturally. It's the most daft thing imaginable. Vaccines. Yeah, I look like a spring chick. Thanks, Les. Hey, look, if I shave this off, I have to carry around a big stick to fight off all the chicks fucking coming at me, mate. Big strong boss. Earth is flat and mountainous. Libra 61 star. Yeah, I can see that you are one of the very few flat earth people I know that has moved on well beyond flat earth. Everything we've been programmed with is a lie. Flat earth is the card that makes the whole house fall. Yes. So right, Libra 61 star. That's it. Once you grasp the flat earth, I mean, you pretty much have to have already grasped a lot of the other bullshit we've been fed with before that. But once you get that, you see through it all. You see through the whole fucking lot. Everything is a lie. All of our history is a lie. Earth is far, far older than we've been told. It's DVW megadose vitamin C. I can see how that's deplorable, but I think if you're actually on a normal, proper, regular diet, you don't really need to take extra vitamin C. But at times, it's probably a good idea to, if you have been lacking. What I try to find to do, I try to do is occasionally starve myself of particular nutrients. And when your body's craving them, therefore when you do take them, just in small doses, your body takes full use of it. What we see in, say, Western society in general is that the people eating a lot of dairy products, very high in calcium. These are the societies suffering in the worst cases of osteoporosis, which is lack of calcium in their bones. And the doctor's solution is to say to eat more dairy. It's like, nah. What happens is your body, when it's getting too much of a certain thing, says, well, we're getting too much of this, we need to get rid of it. And so it will get rid of it. And the acidity, of course, naturally eats into your bones, reduces your calcium, and then you piss out all this calcium, and therefore you suffer osteoporosis. If you have minimal amounts of calcium, the body says, oh, I'm craving this calcium, and puts it where you need it. Minimalisation in your diet is how you keep a strong body. Excess creates excessive leaching. I forgot how to spell. It's almost 12 o'clock here. Sorry, real Bob Ross. I'm so sorry, it's midnight where you are. Vaccines don't give immunity, they just help prevent. Well, why bother? Why bother? Why not just get the fucking disease? Unless it's a deadly disease in the first place. Anti-vaxxers are very dangerous. They can start epidemics because they don't believe that they work. Mate, don't get me started on vaccines. Yeah, it is total bullshit. Thank you, Libra61 star. Vaccines are dangerous. That's how they spread the diseases back into society that were virtually eliminated in the first place because we had proper hygiene. We got proper clean water. We've got healthy nutritional diet. And then you go and reintroduce these diseases back into society and then blame the unvaccinated for them being spread. Come on. You know, that pisses me off more than anything. How about we try 20 years of zero vaccinations and see what happens? You know, they're treating us all like guinea pigs and our children like guinea pigs. Why don't we just try the opposite for 20 years, one generation? Let's just see what happens and see if we can clear up these diseases a different way. I'm pretty sure we could, and we will, because injecting live viruses, even weakened ones, and other toxins into people isn't working. And clearly we can see the rates of autism going up in conjunction with the rates of vaccination. I'm not saying they cause it, but there's certainly a correlation. So fuck the vaccinations. Get rid of them. What's the next one? Short's Planate Veritas. Oh, hang on, I skipped something here. I don't want to miss anything because I don't have too many viewers, so it's not like I have to skim through the comments like most people do. Matt Powerland says DVW. Matt Powerland is yet another one. Much like that, what you call him again? Scroll up. I always forget his name. Anyway, Nathan Oakley, that's right. Matt Powerland and Nathan Oakley, to me, seem to be on the same sort of page. They're just power trippers. They're just, I don't know. I'm not a power tripper. I'm just a truther. That's all I've ever been worried about is getting the truth out. Not about stoking my ego and saying, oh, I was the first one to come across with this idea, blah, 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 and get pissed off with the rest of the world. Come on. We're all in this together. This is what it's all about. We should all be on the same side, no matter how we feel. The thing that comes to me at the end of the day is whether you believe the earth is flat, whether you believe you're on a spinning ball, whether you believe in Jesus or whatever you believe. It doesn't really matter what you believe. The thing is, what do you hope to get out of this? What is the common goal that we are hoping to get out of this? That is what we should be focusing upon. And what I hope to get out of this is that we make this world a heavenly realm where we are not debt slaves. We don't have to get up and work in the morning unless we want to. And when you're living in a world where you don't have to get up to go and make somebody else rich, that you're getting up and you're making your own world a richer place for everybody, that is the sort of world I'd like to live in. I would happily go and work all day. I'd be like, couldn't get up early enough in the morning, and the sun's coming down, and suppose I should go and eat some food type of thing so I can get up and do it again tomorrow. That's the sort of world I would gladly volunteer to live in, because everything is provided as a natural result of everybody giving to one another everything that we need. Everybody working for one another. But when we're working for the elites, for somebody that keeps sucking all the wealth out of everything we do, we're just victims of these fucking vampires. That's not the world I want to be. And that is where I think flat earth truth is going to come and save us. The reason I megadose vitamin C, am I really sick? Okay, Loz Barker, yeah, you take care. It says 4 p.m. here when you said that, so it must be 5 a.m. where you are. Take care, mate. Real Bob Ross. Okay, let's talk more about flat earth, for sure, bro. Despite our differences, opinions, been good chatting. Take it easy and many blessings. Yeah. Sorry, Lars, I'm a little bit slow on catching up with the comments here. But yeah, you take care, bro. As I say, I don't care about differences. Difference of opinion, I love it. Bring it on. Let's have a good discussion. But we don't have to hate on each other because we have a difference of opinion, you know. At the end of the day, it's all just philosophical bullshit, or philosophical, however you want to view it. We all have our opinions. So, yeah, cool. I've been prompted there. Didn't say something. Well, thanks for the 3 thumbs up. Still 5 people viewing, but very few asking questions. Okay, Real Bob Ross. I would like to try and disprove some flat earth proof. Okay, mate, go ahead. Try and disprove some flat earth proof. I guarantee you I have an answer for it. And it would be nice, actually, to be having this discussion on the forum so you didn't have to type it. We could talk to one another. The non-secretary show do it quite well. I don't know how they do it on their forum, but we'll try that one day. That's how we all ended up as flat earthers, by trying to disprove it. So I'm happy to hear it, and I'm glad that you're asking questions. That's what it's all about, asking questions. Ask all the questions you can. Oh. While I'm waiting, still waiting. I could have written 3 answers by now. It's a wonder I'm not going bald the way that I shed so much hair every time I brush it. time. Okay, there it is. No, I won't, because I've been exposed to science since I was very young. Come on, mate. I was looking forward to this. I would love somebody to ask a real serious question, but give me something about the flat Earth that I believe. It doesn't move. It's motionless. The constellations remain the same. The water remains level, give or take the tides. The wind behaves as wind behaves, not as though it would behave on a ball spinning at 1,040 miles an hour, going 66,000 miles an hour through a vacuum of space. Lack of curvature doesn't even need to be said, because we've already gone over that. Give me something that proves the spinning ball to yourself, dude. And you know, as I said, I'll gladly answer any question. The water remains level because gravity keeps it level. Okay, so what is gravity? What is gravity? I can sit and wait. I've got plenty of time. I might even go grab another beer in case I run out of this one. Because it's going to take a long time to ever see a Glober answer the question, what is gravity? Oh, gravity is a slight magnetic force that pulls stuff to big objects. That reminded me. All right. Glad I got this other one, because shit was starting to go down. Ugh. Pardon me again. Right. Magnetic force. A slight magnetic force that pulls stuff to big objects. Oh, come on, Libra 61 star. Don't use logic. Globe believers don't like logic. They like to believe in fantasies. Let's have a look at a magnetic force that pulls stuff down. This here is a magnetic cleaner that goes on the inside of my fish tank. This is the one that stays on the outside. Ooh, you hear that? That's magnetic force. Ugh. Very hard to pull apart. Let's turn them upside down. Try to push them together. Ugh. They will not go. Ugh. Turn it around. Bam. That's magnetic force. Magnetic force is very strong and it doesn't fuck around. See, I cannot. Ugh. Try as I might, push them together. They will not go. That force is what I say is causing the tides because it's pushing down on the salt water. Magnetism. Put them together. Bam! Stick together. Gravity, if it were a real force, if it was any sort of magnetic force, it's either weak or strong. It's neither one or the other. I cannot push them together. They will only go that way. They will not put them the right way. Stick together. Bang! There's your gravity. Debunked just like that. Gravity is not a magnetic force. It's not a weak magnetic force. It's either attraction of mass or the repulsion of mass. It cannot be both. Either the moon is stuck to us by magnetic attraction or it's repulsed by magnetic repulsion. But it cannot be both. And yet the same moon is at the same distance from us, whether we're traveling around the sun at 66,000 miles an hour or not. Or if it's, if the moon's in front of us, behind us, repulsed and attracted at the same time, can only be one or the other. There's no in between. So gravity debunked like that. Give us another explanation. How about a flat and motionless pressurized system cannot coexist next to a vacuum. No curvature, no big bang with new stars or stars doing their field. Nothing go off. Exactly. The old mass attracts mass argument. It's always a good one. Just can't be proven. If mass attracted mass, then a heavier object would always fall faster than the less heavy object. Never happens. It's just the same force of displacement of an object through the medium of air, 9.8 meters per second squared. It's displacing the air, and as it displaces it, the air rushes around behind it, pushing down on it, rushing down, pushing. That's the displacement theory. That replaces gravity, just like that. Real Bob Ross, if a pressurized system can't work next to a vacuum, how come we can use vacuum chambers in pressurized areas? Because the vacuum chambers made, I think you mean chambers, I shouldn't make fun of your typos. The vacuum chamber has sealed edges, exteriors, whatever it may be. Strong sealed edges. And you need to then use a strong pump of extractive force with valves to expel the air to ensure that it doesn't re-enter into that chamber. That's how you can do it. You think you can do it without having the strong dome or walls of the vacuum chamber? You think you can still have a vacuum? Fuck. That's one of the worst questions I've ever seen. Gravity gets weaker the less mass something has. So you're saying that lighter objects fall slower than heavier objects? Disproven by your own science. Try again. Put a paper clip on that magnet and it will be easy to pull apart. It's because it's a paper clip and it's not magnetized at this stage. Libra 61. There are no vacuums in nature. It would be instantaneously equilibrate. Sorry for the bad spelling. No, I understand it. It would instantaneously equilibrate. That's what nature naturally does. Nature abhors a vacuum. And the instant that you have the vacuum chamber and you crack the seal on it, atmosphere instantly rushes to fill it. That's what it does. So, oh wait, mass does attract mass. That's why all my furniture collects dust. No, that's just because you shed a lot of skin, because you're a living creature shedding skin all the time that accumulates as dust. Oh, here we go. The real Bob Ross has shared a link. I think I've allowed it. I've tried to allow it. Now the link is gone. The gases in our atmosphere act as our barrier against the vacuum. I'm sorry, but Mr. Real Bob Ross, gases are the very opposite of what a barrier would be. The very fucking opposite. If we could talk, this would be much easier. True. If you want to set up a debate show and invite me on, you know, that way I can't be blamed for somebody porn bombing. What is it? Porn bombing my channel. I know there's a lot of people out there that do some weird ass shit. Yeah, sure. I'll be happy to debate anybody. I just don't go about setting up my own. That's what it comes down to. If we could talk, fine. Be happy. Water settles flat and level, and there's no experiment to prove water bends around a ball and sticks to it. Game over, Glombies. Well said, Wint. You got to go now? Okay then, real Bob Ross, you go. Thanks for dropping by anyway. I appreciated having some human interaction on this Sunday afternoon. I might take my dog for a walk shortly. Or I might just leave him at home and take myself for a walk. Fuck the dog. He can't handle the heat. He's terrible. I get a bit tired of walking at night time. It's been overcast so much lately, but sunny day like this, that one. Thanks for dropping by. And for everybody else that dropped by, I think I might call this a day. We're at 2:22:33. Oh, we're in a good time to start. Anybody into numbers? Anyway, it's a shame that not more of those glombies from the Non Sequitur show didn't turn up, that thought they had something to say and wanted to question me about everything I was talking about with perspective. Maybe next time. See you around. Take care and take it easy. I'll see you later. Let's see how I can end this one.